Thank you, Director.
You're welcome, Mr. Chair.
Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for Cablecast on Metro Cable 14. Replay on Sunday, September 25th, 2016 at 9 a.m. and Monday, September 26th, 2016 at 12 noon on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. Public opportunity for matters of public interest. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We do have a speaker this evening. Will Miss Jackie Andrews please join us at the podium?
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing me a few moments to address all of you on a matter that has taken place, you may be aware of, in Placer County, the most western corner of. Placer County has decided to close a major road that goes from Baseline Road to our community of Elverta and Rio Linda. There are many reasons why I feel that this closure should not take place, but the reason why I'm here addressing you this evening is because I want to focus on the emergency response. Sac Metro Fire provides services for emergency services to my area. My family, which consists of my husband, my 2 children, and my disabled parents, where we live in a rural part, Sacramento County, Sutter County, and Placer County all come together. So when we call 911, as we all know, minutes, seconds, the time starts ticking away, and every second that passes is precious. And with this closure, that response time is going to be lengthened, I feel, greatly, and I do not feel that Placer County went through the proper process in which to decide to close, but that's another topic altogether. My concern is the response time that Sac Metro Fire has in reaching my family, my community, and I would like to ask for support. There is quite a movement. There's a petition online at gopetition.com, search Locust Road Closure. There's over 300 signatures already, and my understanding is they had very few that were proponents of this closure. So 300 to just a few, I mean, I think the outcry against opposing this closure is very valid, and it is apparent that as a community we do not want this closure, and one of the reasons is for the response time. So I hope that you will consider supporting the opposition and stand with us as a community in hopes that you will write a letter to the Placer County Board of Supervisors with your opposition of the road closure. That's my hope, and that you will agree that emergencies response time is very important.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for coming up before us this evening and representing your community. Chief, do you have any comments? I'm not aware of this.
You know what? We are very in support of emergency response up into that area. And I know our Assistant Chief Fire Marshal Greg Castantini has a couple comments to make on this as well. So Chief Castantini, if you want to step up to the mic there just for a second. We're absolutely in support of making sure that our traffic can get up into there, our emergency traffic, to help, when there is an emergency. So, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, President Scheidegger and Board. Greg Castantini, Assistant Chief Fire Marshal. So Metro Fire has been informed of a decision by the County of Placer to close Locust Road south of Browning Street within Placer County on Friday, September 23rd, 2016. Metro Fire provides emergency response services to the citizens just north of the road closure in an area covering approximately 1 square mile. A gate that will allow for emergency vehicle access but prohibit other traffic is expected to be placed at the road closure. A Knox lock will be placed on the gate, allowing fire crews to gain entry. Knox locks are not uncommon in the county. Our fire crews are very familiar with them. We are actively working with Sacramento County officials and Sacramento County supervisors to ensure that emergency vehicles continue to have access to the area beyond the closure with minimal delay. Now, I've spoken with Mrs. Andrews, and her concerns echo Metro Fire's concerns as well. For over 30 years, Metro Fire and the predecessing agencies have responded up to this 1.4 square mile area. There's approximately 150 homes in which we service 600 people in the rural community. So in the short talk with her and the fire chief, I believe we are going to support a letter to the Placer County supervisors. We need to look into more of the notification process that was probably falling short on this end. And that I can tell you right now that our preference is to have no gate to ensure a rapid response to that area. Secondarily to that would be an electronic gate. And third, which the one we oppose most, is a manual gate, which is going to be installed tomorrow. So thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
One quick question, if I could.
Yes, Director Kelly.
Has anybody taken the time to explain to you the purpose of this gate and why they find such a need to shut the road down?
And is that directed to me, Director?
If you know, yes.
Yes. There was a traffic study done about a year and a half ago, which we weren't privy to until it was posted online and sent to us. It's associated with some complaints in the area regarding a lot of traffic on the street. I have the traffic study that showed at one point there was 1,000 cars a day on this road. But I believe it's connected politically to another large housing development going in the next few years to the east of that. And so they're going to close the road, what I believe to be a couple years early, to accommodate some of the complaints on the traffic. But as Mrs. Andrews pointed out, I think they need to do a little bit better job researching it and, addressing the concerns for public safety as well.
Well, maybe the developer should pay for a firehouse closer to the neighborhood that's up in that area.
I think she would support that, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Director Jones?
Yes, thank you. Trying to look up some information on this Locust Road Circulation Study. This, on a date for the technical memorandum, was April of 2015. So I'm very concerned that we were not contacted well into the development of the draft EIR on this thing. And if I could ask our guests to leave her contact information with the fire marshal, and we can, I know I personally would like to get deeper into this and see what's going on, as I'm sure the rest of my fellow directors and any person involved in emergency response would want to be.
Director Mitchell?
First of all, Ms. Andrews, let me thank you for coming forward. This young lady approached me last Thursday because it's in my area. This 1 square mile is what makes our district multi-county. That's a huge importance to this district. That being said, let me step back just for a moment. Our last meeting, when your husband was at the podium, I addressed him as Scott Shell, your maiden name, because those of us who know you very well and your parents, we often call your husband with your maiden last name, and I apologize to him for that. But Jackie, if I may call you that because we've been friends since you were, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I would also like to thank Chief Casatini, because when I called, I thought this was so important. I called the chief, I think it was on Sunday, and it bothered him, which I shouldn't have, but I thought it was important. And both of you took this up, and for this district not to be notified of this, I think, I have no idea why, but I thank both of you for taking the action you have to help these people, and I would thank this board, from just what I've heard this evening, for supporting that, because, again, it's that 1 square mile that makes this district multi-county. And not only that, but to slow the response time down up there is certainly a major problem. So I would like to thank the administration, certainly all your efforts, Mrs. Andrews, for bringing this to our attention. And thank you very much.
And thank you. Thank you for what I've learned, your hard work so far. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. And again, Ms. Andrews, I appreciate your coming before us, representing your community. And I think you see there's a good deal of sympathy and interest in this issue in part of the district. Let's have some time to move forward with it. Thank you. All right, we'll move ahead to the consent items. Are there any board member questions on the consent items?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we adopt.
Moved and seconded. Board clerk?
Director Mitchell?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Orzali?
Aye.
Wood? Barnes?
Aye.
Clark? Kelly,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
and Scheidegger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to presentation items. Certificate of Commendation. Chief Wells.
Well, it is my absolute honor tonight, directors, tonight to present the Certificate of Commendation Award. And I would like to have, yes, thank you. I have the Minlakaiv brothers, Max and Val, up there with Chief Casantini. And before, I'd just like to read into the record here what happened on the August 8th, 2016. On August 8th, 2016, Captain Kellenberger and Metro Fire Engine 61 on the A shift responded to a report of several vehicles on fire in the driveway of a home in a Rancho Cordova neighborhood. Crews arrived to find the fire had been contained to the front bumper area of one car and the driver's side door of the other. At that time, Captain Kellenberger was informed by a bystander that while the suspect was pouring gasoline on the vehicles, he had ordered everyone to leave because he had a gun. He then proceeded to ignite the vehicles. Once the suspect fled the area, Max Minlakaiv, a 14-year-old neighbor, ran over with an ABC fire extinguisher and put the fire out. According to Captain Kellenberger, this young man definitely saved the day. We later found out that this was actually a family effort because Max's older brother Val also had a hand in his quick actions. Max dialed 911 and handed the phone to his brother Val. Val explained the situation to the dispatcher while Max ran outside and put the fire out. It is with great honor that Metro Fire represents to Max Minlakaiv and Val Minlakaiv a certificate of commendation. This commendation is a recognition of your quick and decisive actions performed on August 8th, 2016. And thank you very much from your community and from this fire service family on your heroic actions that day. And so with that, I would like to now, we're going to show you a quick video of how this all unfolded.
Jennifer McGraw is live now in the newsroom with a story you'll see only on CBS 13. Jennifer?
Yeah, Sam and Christina, those cars were under a canopy parked and were so close to a home that it could have set fire. But thanks to this teenage boy who grabbed a fire extinguisher, well, he saved the day.
He poured gasoline everywhere, and then he lit it up, and then he's like, I have more gas.
The Minlakai brothers watched from home as a man threw gas and torched two vehicles. Well, Val called 911 and recorded this video. His younger brother, Max, grabbed a fire extinguisher and ran next door. At the time, neither knew their quick thinking would help lead police to another crime scene in Citrus Heights.
He had fled the scene of an arson, that he was armed.
Minlakai's description of the vehicle ultimately helped officers track the trunk to the suspect's home. Police say the man pulled a gun, forcing officers to fire, killing him. The suspect was later identified as Michael McClurg, who deputies say set fire to a vehicle registered to his ex-wife.
We had a lot of officers very, very quickly. We needed all the help we could get with this particular situation.
While it was a wild chase for police, it all began back in Rancho Cordova, where Sacramento Metro Fire says these brothers helped by literally taking action into their own hands.
I was just thinking about what would happen if the car exploded.
Metro Fire says Max did exactly what he was supposed to.
The fact that Max had the clarity of mind to go in, grab the extinguisher while his brother's on the phone with 911, everything that needed to happen was happening simultaneously.
Not only being recognized by his older sibling,
I'm very proud of him already.
but being called a neighborhood hero.
Taking action like that absolutely saved these people from their house, their trees, potentially more cars catching on fire, people getting hurt.
And this may surprise you, but firefighters say a lot of people don't know how to use a fire extinguisher. So I asked Max where he learned it, and he tells me that before leaving school, they have to line up by the front door, and he happened to be near the fire extinguisher and reading it daily.
Came in handy.
Self-taught.
Well done.
Jennifer, thank you. Develop.
All right.
That's all, Chief, yeah.
Okay, well, that is obviously a fantastic outcome. A couple young heroes in our midst here tonight, folks that come out of their normal walk and they do something extraordinary, are true heroes. And we'd really like to celebrate and congratulate you on your tremendous work. So first we have certificates of commendation. First for Max. Congratulations, young man. And Val, very nice job. And why don't we step over here and get a quick picture? All right. We good here? Outstanding. Nice job, guys. I hate to put you guys on the spot. Would you like to say something? And you know what, one thing before we do that, your family's right here. Could you introduce your family? Because things don't happen by accident. Usually there's some strong parenting behind that. So I'd just like to celebrate the family and the crowd. So if you could introduce them.
Thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate it. And here's my mom, Alla, and my dad, Nikolai, and that's my little sister, Ilona.
Okay, and also I'd like to, Assemblyman Cooley wanted to also celebrate your accomplishment tonight, and we have accommodations from his office as well. So thank you very much, and once again, a round of applause. Thank you.
So directors, Max knew how to use a fire extinguisher. He didn't waste critical seconds reading the instructions on the extinguisher. He pulled the pin, he aimed the nozzle, he squeezed the trigger, and he swept back and forth, an acronym known as PASS. It's that easy, but will you remember it in an emergency? You are more likely to remember a skill if you've performed it with your own hands. Using a fire extinguisher is no different. Most people haven't touched an extinguisher before they need to put out a fire. But that's really not a good time to learn. You may have noticed our fire extinguisher training set up in the lobby when you walked in. There's a reason it's here tonight. We want everyone in the county to see just how easy it is to learn to use a fire extinguisher. We are scheduling training sessions through the end of the year. One more bit of news, as you've learned tonight with Max and Val, it is just as important for kids to know how to use a fire extinguisher. So we are excited to announce we will be now teaching this valuable skill in our schools, starting with James Rudder Middle School in South Sacramento next Monday and Tuesday. How awesome is that? By this time next week, more than 100 kids will have learned a skill set that could literally save their life. Right. So to date, Metro Fire has trained 566 people with our fire extinguisher training. We plan on teaching the fire extinguisher training at 67 middle schools and high schools. Our target audience is 7th grade and also junior year of high school. We plan on implementing 40 weeks of instruction throughout the year. Any questions?
Well,
Mr. President, I'd just like to say thank you so much. This fire extinguisher training has been in progress for a while, and now to be able to expand it and get into the schools as per your program, that's just fantastic.
you bet.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Chief Wells. Thank you, Chief Casatini, but particularly thank you to our everyday heroes, Max and Val. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. One last time. All right. With that, let's move on to changes in company inspection program. Chief Casatini.
Okay, once again, good evening, Board. Greg Casantini, Assistant Chief Fire Marshal.
Aircrafts aren't very safe. I would match the safety
Oh.
and maintenance records of the U-2 with any other aircraft that you actually serve for spots. In fact, we're going to continue to find U-2.
Hang on.
What's happening?
Audio problems.
First time.
Let's have that checked out. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Thank you, buddy. Good, thank you very much.
Always expanding.
Okay, good evening. Tonight, I would like to brief you regarding a few changes our division is going to implement regarding the Fire Company Inspection Program. So following the Board of Directors' 2016 strategic plan, specifically evaluating sustainability through self-assessment, our staff conducted a comprehensive evaluation of the Fire Company Inspection Program, which was started in 2012. The evaluation of the program showed us a better opportunity to use our fire company resources. By using data-driven decisions, we will achieve a more efficient, sustainable program, which will continue to meet the requirements of the fire code. Our intent is to reallocate our fire company's focus from small business inspections to multi-family dwellings, specifically apartments. Currently, our fire companies conduct 2,000 business inspections, also apartment complexes that have more than 100 units. Although we've noticed some challenges that were noted with the current program. So on average, 35% of the business inspections were referred back into our division. So that's 1/3 more work that the Bureau had to accomplish when they were already assigned to the companies. And why is that? So a lot of businesses flat out refuse entry from the fire companies. They refuse to comply with the requirements after numerous attempts, causing the fire companies to go out there several times. Also, business operations posed hazards out of the scope of the inspection program. However, the apartments, only 12% of the initial apartment inspections were referred back to the CRD division. And it's usually because of duplicate scheduling and condominium complexes, which are very complicated regarding the private owners of those homes. So I conducted a 5-year study evaluating business fires and apartment fires. The data was very clear, showing that 70% of our fires were in our apartments versus 30% in the businesses. If we compare that to a national study, 87% of the fires were in apartments compared to 13% of the businesses. So the data is pretty clear. Most of your fires are in your apartments. So why is that? That's where people live. That's where they cook. So, considering the simplicity of multifamily inspections, the fact that these inspections are mandated annually, and fire statistics previously noted, it is our recommendation to reallocate multifamily inspections back to our crews and pull the small business inspections back into CRD, which is going to give us several benefits. The fire company's focus on multifamily dwellings will not only increase efficiency, but will also provide the crews situational awareness before the fire occurs. Business inspections will transition into inspection staff schedule who are better equipped to mitigate non-compliance issues. Obviously, increased consistency in regulatory enforcement, and also the reassignment will provide inspection staff the option of billing a shopping complex like a strip mall. We can base them on one fee based on the square footage rather than individual business owners all paying a separate fee. So Director Rosali and Director Jones, that's some of the conversations that we've had of try to reduce that impact on small businesses, and this is part of that concept. We still need to evaluate the implementation of that, but we do feel there's going to be some savings for some small businesses. Let's talk about community outreach. This is what we do every year when it comes to inspections. Mail, we provide a checklist of what we're looking for, obviously email follow-up. We have community outreach also with our Chamber of Commerce and also multiple community meetings, which I've already scheduled for next month. So if there's no other questions, I can answer any questions on this program change.
Board members, are there any questions? There is no action required.
Right.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Chief, thanks for that presentation. I'm troubled by one of the slides that talks about businesses refusing entry.
Mm-hmm.
What is the legal opportunity we have when a business refuses to allow a mandatory fire inspection of their business? I would think at that point, very much like maybe restaurants who refuse food inspectors to come in, they slap a big sticker on the front that says no longer open for business until this is done. What are some of the recourses we have? Because it stresses me a little bit that they have that ability and could have a very significant fire danger lurking behind the door that we then can't mitigate to save other people's businesses or lives.
Well, Director, I appreciate that question. And the California Fire Code and the International Fire Code have made it very clear that fire marshal and their staff have a right for entry. Okay, if you're operating a business in Sacramento County, California, we have a right for entry. And so what we've had to do on a few occasions is get a inspection warrant. And by the time you would notify them, we will get an inspection warrant through the DA's office. We've always been allowed entry into these facilities. We've not had to go further than that. So by the time you get the law involved with that, the problem's been solved. So initially, we do have some resistance. For some reason, the fire companies don't gain entry. They refer it back to our division, which 35% of the time it's already happening. So we get the law on our side, and we do make entry.
Is there a cost for that?
Yes.
There is a cost when we have to show up multiple times, and I believe it starts on the third attempt that we have to go back in. So yes, there is.
And we're billing said businesses that decide that they can break the law.
Absolutely. We take care of that very quickly. We resolve the problems.
Thank you.
Director Orzali.
Chief, when I was contacted by a member of the community expressing his concerns about having the board be aware of the affect of fees on a small business. So how will this new structure affect those fees?
Well, that's a good point. Number one, they're going to get a better, more thorough inspection. Our inspectors take 2 years to be trained, so they're going to get a better, more thorough inspection. We want to eliminate the fire hazards in their businesses. Okay, traditionally, the information from the federal government is that 75% of any business, 75% of the businesses that have fires never reopen their doors. So first off, it starts with education. Secondly, the fees are going to stay the same, and they're going to get a more thorough inspection, probably with less time and less inconvenience. Traditionally, the businesses don't like a big fire engine in front of their business. They're not sure what's going on when there's an emergency, so our inspectors drive sedans, and they schedule these appointments, and it's usually one person, so it's a little more friendlier operation. But let's take a look at your question regarding the fees. As I said, they're going to get a more thorough inspection. The fees are going to remain the same. But our intent is to save the business owners money at any opportunity. If we can bill them on square footage rather than a one flat fee, we're going to do that. We've identified numerous opportunities to look at strip malls. So you have one owner that owns 5 or 6 businesses. Rather than the fees per business, we can bill them per square footage. So we're definitely trying to meet the needs that the board has regarding the fees and the small business owners.
Thank you for that, because this is an important issue. One of the people who contacted me was a small business owner who had sublet a corner of another office. When the inspectors came about, there were 3 such tenants in fundamentally one room. They all got a bill, and that was problematic. Is that situation being ameliorated through this process?
Yeah, what's going to happen is our inspectors will go back into these facilities and see what business operations are being done and try to clarify that, start the communication line, see who the owner is, and see what the intended use is. So that's something we can definitely evaluate. And really, anybody that has a concern like that, I would encourage them to get a hold of our division. We'll send out an inspector and also a supervisor. We can address those issues, no problem.
The last point that this gentleman made was, he said, I already pay taxes. Why do I get billed for an inspection? Mm-hmm. Should that not be part of the service? Is this not just a way for Metro Fire to make money?
Okay, I appreciate that question. So the answer is the property taxes that our business owners only pay for a fire response. They don't pay for any ambulance 911 billing. They also don't pay for the inspection services that most of these businesses that we're required by law to do. Okay, so all we're doing is recovering the cost of our time to do this. And most businesses, it's around $100, and we're looking about every 2 years. So $50 a year, I believe it works out to be about 70 cents a day is what we're talking about. I spoke with a member in Fair Oaks recently that concerned regarding the fees, and he was actually pretty happy when I broke it down, 70 cents a day for fire protection coverage. It helps on their insurance, and it keeps their people safe. So most people, after some education, they're very happy that we're meeting the needs, and it is actually a pretty low cost for the service that they get to keep them safe.
So all of that information is something, are we in some concise way able to provide that information to the public so that this gentleman who was very concerned for good reasons. Could have gotten, I don't know what it is, maybe it's a handout from us about how this works. Does that happen?
Yes, Director, it does. So recapping the last part of the slides is that we send out emails, we send out regular mails. The inspectors have the information as well. It's also on our website. We can clearly redouble those efforts. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce and different community groups to get that education out there.
Well, and I wanted to also thank the folks in finance for doing the research. We bring in fire inspection fees apparently are about $300,000 for business inspections each year. Total inspection fees are just under $1 million. So when the public has the perception that this is some money-making scheme, that's something that we need to address, and I really appreciate your efforts.
Okay. Thank you very much, Director.
Any other questions?
I would also like to add my thanks to the hard work for yourself, Fire Marshal, and your staff and finance, and also to Director Orzali for helping to engage all of us in this discussion. The end result's going to be more efficient, more safe, and the hypothesis is that it will be less of an expense to our business owners. We need to get in and try it. We will massage it enough to make it work. I have assurances from the Fire Marshal this will occur, and I have the greatest faith that it will. And your education to me was amazing in terms of the stats for where our fires are. The stat of 75% of the businesses don't reopen, that floored me. So these are very, very important facts that need to be discussed and discussed and discussed. And I very much appreciate you bringing all that information to my attention. Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Director. I would like to add my thanks for your answers. Excellent information for us all. And also that Fair Oaks resident or business owner that you spoke with. I believe I was somewhat involved in that, and I appreciate very much your responsiveness to that constituent. And finally, wish you the best of luck in implementing these new procedures. Thanks.
Right. Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move ahead to reports. First of all, in the President's report, Director Orzali and I yesterday had the pleasure of sitting in the town hall meeting. And I just want to say, speaking for myself, I thought it was an excellent event. The room was packed, and there were tremendous participation out in the field via the telelink. But what's really encouraging is the nature and scope of the questions, the dialogue, the honest, forthright answers, and I think it just was a healthy tone for this agency. Thank you very much, Chief, and to all the executive staff and to all the members of this fire district who participated. It was a good job. Thank you. All right, Fire Chief's report.
Well, thank you, President Scheidegger. I'd like to first start off by thanking everyone who participated and in honoring the 9/11 events, the 15th anniversary, all across the county. I had the opportunity to go down and watch the kickoff of the stair climb, which is always it's a fantastic event, very somber, very emotional. They climb up 110 stories with 343 names of fallen firefighters, and they take those to the roof of the building downtown. And it's very powerful, moving for the individuals. And of course, this year there was the sister of one of the men that died in the World Trade Center, and her brother's name was taken aloft as well. So thank you for the individuals that set that up many years ago, I believe 9 years ago, and started it in a more formal way. And we will continue to honor and support that into perpetuity. And also the 5K run and walk that happened downtown as well. Also, I'd like to say on September 12th, following day, we were asked to join the governor in his Medal of Valor ceremony for public safety. 7 law enforcement officers and 1 firefighter were chosen to receive the medal based on actions above and beyond the call of duty. Our PIO, Captain Idem, was there to assist the governor in presenting each medal so he could place it around the recipient's neck. And so I was very happy that Captain Michelle Idem was able to participate in that event. Also, in reference to the town hall meeting, thank you, Directors Orzali and President Scheidegger. It was a great event. I think anytime that we can be in a very honest, open dialogue with the men and women of Metro Fire, talking about real issues, problem solving, solutions to make this place better. As Chief Bridge would say, making it a little better every day. We did that yesterday, and it's not always a comfortable conversation, but it's always honest, and I appreciated your participation in that yesterday. Also, I'd like to say save the date. On the 1st and the 2nd of October, coming up next week, is the Capitol Air Show right out back here. Always a fantastic event, and I hope that everyone can come out for that. On a more somber note, on the 15th of October is the annual California Firefighter Memorial Ceremony and the Firefighter Memorial Stand Down. It's at 11:30 a.m. at the Fallen Firefighter Memorial downtown Sacramento. It's a gathering in a tribute of all of our fallen brothers and sisters, and this year 29 members will be added to those nearly 1,300 firefighters who have fallen in the line of duty since California became a state. It's something that I urge all the uniformed personnel at Metro Fire and are in the region to attend, and certainly anybody else to come out. It's a fantastic opportunity to honor those that have fallen in the line of duty. I'd like to acknowledge in the second row over there our new Economic Development Manager, Jeff Fry. Jeff came on board from the County of Sacramento. He started last Monday and has hit the ground running, and absolutely instrumental in even the issue that we were dealing with earlier tonight out in the Placer County. So thank you. He replaces Larry Davis in those responsibilities, and we're looking forward to great things, and he's doing a great job so far. I'd like to acknowledge the retirement of Captain Chris Marsh after 27 years of service. He retired effective on the 9th of September. I'd like to also acknowledge our promotions. We promoted Assistant Chief Randy Hine to the EMS division. He's going to head up the EMS division for us, and Chief Johnson will be moving over to permanently take over the B shift in operations. He's kind of been wearing both hats for a while, and thank you for your hard work. And then that was on the 20th of September. On the 22nd of September, Adam House is now a battalion chief. Captain House, long-term hazmat guy, and now he's going to be a battalion chief, and Captain Adam Huckabee has been promoted. So good luck to their jobs, and like everything, we're moving up, and a lot of experience leaving the door, and these guys are really stepping up, so good luck. We are currently recruiting for accounting technician. The final filing date is the 23rd of September at 4 p.m. That's an internal and external recruitment. And then on the 9th of September, our Fire Marshal AC, Greg Casantini, did a command staff video, so that's out for viewing. And last, but certainly not least, we are absolutely going to be putting the pink engine back in service for cancer awareness starting in October. It will be engine 106 again. The good news about that is engine 106 is actually a full-time engine now as of July 1st. So we will take in, it'll be more details coming out through the operations division, but that engine will be rotating through the battalions as it has done in the past, and that'll just be trading engines. So more information to follow about that, but long time legacy of doing that, and certainly cancer impacts the fire service and all of our families in so many ways, and we're glad to honor that tradition. So any further questions? Otherwise, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions, board members? All right, Chief Bridge, operations, please.
Good evening, President Scheidegger, board members, Chief Wells, Eric Bridge, operations chief. I wanted to mention last Thursday, I believe it was last Thursday, we had a significant vegetation fire around Cal Expo. Many of you may have sustained some ash damage in your homes if you live in that area, but I just wanted to make mention of the crews here at Metro Fire that did a fantastic job. I think we had about 14 or 15 of our companies out there helping Sacramento City extinguish that. It tends to catch fire every year, but nonetheless, it draws down a lot of our resources. But we were closely monitoring all that, and just wanted to make a mention that our crews did a fantastic job. Our helicopter, of course, and I think both our dozers were out there on this one too. So with that, since the numbers continue to remain the same, I decided to extract a few additional numbers to make our reports a little bit more interesting. So again, we're maintaining every 14 days about 2,700 dispatches, about 2,700 medical dispatches. We're around 3,700 total calls. Of the 3,700, we had 17 structure fires and about 47 vegetation type fires. And on the medical side, it's about 2,700 medical dispatches, of which 2,500 of those belong to Metro Fire, and we transport about 75% of the time on that. Our friends with AMR, they're on about 170 dispatches, and they're transporting about 120 of those folks in our district as well. So with that, I wanted to mention our busiest unit since the last time we met is Medic 24 in the over there right by American River College, but not to be too far off the pace, Medic 101 and Medic 23. So a lot of these in the Foothill Farms area and also in the Arden Arcade area keep very busy. So they're running about, Medic 24 ran 188 dispatches. It's about 14 a day, so since our last board meeting. And 101 and 23 are just, we're talking tenths or hundreds of a tenths of a percentage point behind that. So we'll go with our most common injury since the last board meeting this time was common medical call for service was traumatic injuries, which encompasses so much. So it's really hard to pinpoint that unless we got into the actual PCR and tried to pull the patient care reports and try to pull out the nature of those. But nonetheless, they're injury type calls as are most common since our last board meeting. Right behind that's abdominal pain type of calls for service. So you might wonder, after 3,700 calls and 2,700 medical, what are the other 1,000? So I just thought I'd provide a little quick rundown for you too, because it's a good question. So a majority of those are public service calls, assistance calls. We'll get called for whether it's a water leak, a gas leak, someone may have fallen and just needs help getting up, but they're not injured. So that's many of them. A lot of them are different types of miscellaneous burning calls, so we wouldn't categorize them in vegetation or structure, just nuisance type fires. Some could be vehicle fires. A lot of them are good intent calls. A lot of them are we're canceled en route. So it doesn't have, we may be in dispatch to a certain type of call, but there's over 200 or 300 of canceled en route calls in a 14-day period. So once you add all those up, that kind of makes up the majority of the other 1,000 that you might be wondering, well, where's the other part to that story? So lastly, before I take my seat, I kind of wanted just to give you a quick heads up that we've been provided an opportunity to purchase and receive in a timely fashion some additional Type 3 engines, of which we're going to move forward with that tomorrow. So coming your way at the next board meeting, of which this was all in the preliminary budget, but coming to your way at the next board meeting will be along that consent item. We'll be discussing a little more of the details, but I just want to at least give you a heads up on that. Through our HGAC contract that we have, that's the Houston Galveston Area Council, which we've been using for previous purchases, like most recently our last ladder truck, we used that. So we're following all the purchasing guidelines. We're going to take advantage of this because there's two Type 3s, which are the engines that we send out to Southern California, wherever we send out on strike teams. Two of them will be available for us in December, but as the HME is the manufacturer. As a state, though, it's a first come, first serve, so whoever gets the PO there first gets to get those. Otherwise, we get in line with everybody else, which puts us back about a year. So we'd like to get those out and get them in service before the next fire season. So I just wanted to let you know that was an opportunity provided to us. We're going to go ahead and move on that, and you'll see more at the next board meeting. So with that, unless you have any other further questions, that's going to conclude my report.
Questions? Chief Bridge, thank you very much for that excellent report. And in particular, I think I speak for the board when I say thank you for that expanded data. I enjoy it. I really appreciate it.
No, good. I'm glad.
Insightful.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Thanks.
Council Lavra.
No report.
All right. Anyone here from 522? All right.
Several.
Committee and delegate reports. The executive committee has not met. Nothing planned at this point. Communications Center, JPA, Chief Bridge.
Yes, the GPA, we have not met since our last board meeting, and our actual next meeting is a special board meeting. So if you notice at the bottom there, it states Tuesday, September 27th. We've actually rescheduled for October 14th. That's a Friday morning at 9 o'clock right here.
Thank you, Chief. California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA, Director Kelly.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the JPA met this afternoon. It was rescheduled from last Thursday. As you were told earlier about the fire that took place at Cal Expo, the representatives from City Fire were not in attendance, so we were unable to generate a quorum. Today we met. We approved the 2016-17 final budget. We discussed improvements to be made at the training center to bring it up to the standards for certain USAR trainings to be held. And then again, we discussed the current tech center building where there are still props, or not props so much, but equipment, light equipment, and medical supplies, exam gloves, things of this nature that need to be disposed of before we clear out of that building at the end of the year, or at the end of January, excuse me. So consequently, I believe our department is on top of that, and it will be disposed of. We did have the conversation that anything that is left over will be offer extended to the local educational programs, and American River College was noted as one. All right.
Great. Well, Director Kelly, I'd like to thank you for your continued service on this committee. It's very important to the district. Thank you. Finance Committee, Director Wood.
Thank you, Mr. President. The meeting for the Finance and Audit Committee was canceled for today. We've rescheduled for Thursday, October 27 at 5 o'clock in this room.
Thank you very much. Director Gould.
Policy Committee looks forward to meeting on Thursday, October 13th in these chambers at 5 o'clock.
We'll all share that anticipation. Thank you, Director Gould. Board member and questions and comments. We'll go to Director Jones first.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, super congratulations to the Minlakayev family for helping everybody out. That is a terrific story, and I am just so overwhelmed whenever I hear of folks, regular citizens, stepping up and being the Good Samaritan, taking quick action, and making the community safer. So thank you to that entire family. Appreciate that very much. Congratulations to all the promotions, and best of luck in the new positions. And Mr. Fry, welcome aboard. I already got a list going. Chief, I'll run it through you first, but we'll be talking. I appreciate that. That's all that I can recall at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Director Kelly.
Everything that the esteemed director on my left said.
Well said. Director Clark.
Ditto.
Oh,
even better.
Change it up.
All right. Director Orzali.
Just very briefly, I wanted to commend everyone who was participating in the town hall meeting. That was a great exchange where people could openly and respectfully ask questions, receive answers, and there is nothing that quells the rumor mills of organizations like being able to get a direct, clear, consistent response. And I just think everybody did a great job. Thank you.
I agree. Director Gould.
No comment.
Director Mitchell.
Thank you. When we see the young men that received those, they're commending tonight for what they did, it adds to what we see in response times. I mean, look what they saved if they wouldn't have done what they had. And then in my area where you're seeing a road that could have been closed, and probably will be tomorrow, but due to the actions of Scott and Jackie Andrews, we appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I appreciate very much the chief and Chief Casatini and their staff on taking immediate action on that. We appreciate that very much. A thank you goes out to the retirees and the new promotions. And certainly last but not least, on the 1st of October is our annual fundraising dinner for the restoration of Rio Linda's second fire engine, number 2. And I do have tickets with me, so any board members that would so like to donate to that cause after the meeting, I have some tickets for you. But again, to Scott and Jackie Andrews, thank you so much. Those seconds that we lose, even, and I think I could point to my fellow director at the other end of the dais, Director Jones, because she sat in that captain seat along with myself. And the time that you have to stop, get out, get a key, open a gate, get the engine through, get back in the engine, put your seatbelt back on. Those aren't seconds that are lost. Those are minutes that are lost. So thank you for your effort in the community and involving this fire district. So you've served that 1 square mile well, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Barnes?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I have 2 brief things, but it took me a little bit to do my numbers. I needed Ms. Thomas to help me out on these. They're raw numbers, but as Chief Bridge reported out, 2,700 medical-related calls in a 14-day period, which equates to 192 per day, if you think about that. Staggering numbers, but that also is a direct reflection of how hard the men and women of Metro Fire work for people's medical care and their safety. So kudos to the staff that go out there every day and do that, but I want the community to understand that 192 calls per day, when you think of that, that's amazing. That's staggering numbers. So thank you for your team, Chief. Thank you for what you do in leading that cause. And those numbers are only going to continue to go up, I imagine. Second thing near and dear to my heart is the charity Pig Bowl Guns and Hoses. Last Saturday, they had the baseball game at Sac City College at 1 o'clock. Happy to say the fire department won 11-7. It was a competitive game until the 8th inning.
Director,
I'm happy to
I couldn't
say.
hear you that.
No, but what was great about it is it
But
raised
I wasn't very clear. Could you just say that slower and a little louder?
We have the football game coming up. No, I'm kidding.
Did you pitch?
No, sir. No. It would have been a lot worse than that.
If you could look right over there and say it louder.
But this was the first time the actual fire and law side came under the Guns and Hoses umbrella, and we look forward to building that. Past couple of years, they had lost some money and interest in it. This year, we were able to raise several $1,000s just on that. Recipients of that will be the Burn Institute and also an organization with Sacramento Police Department. So it was a great event, and I appreciate everybody that supported it. Most importantly, the committee members that made that game happen. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments and your admission.
That's it. On record.
Director Wood.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like I said before, it's wonderful to see stories like that, and I apologize for butchering the name, Manilikev's, their story. It just seems like we only get to recognize people in the community maybe once a year, and I know there's a lot more people in our community that step up every day, and thanks to whoever it was on whatever captain or whoever got up to your attention to get this done, but we need to hear more of those. I know President Scheidegger's got a comment in a minute, but we had another reminder this week about how dangerous the work is that the men and women do. Ventura County lost a fire engineer in an accident responding to a fire in Vandenberg Air Force Base. So just want to remind everybody to be safe and get home at the end of your shift. Thanks.
Thank you, Director. Yeah, kind of building on that, Chief Wells talked about the October 15th Firefighter Memorial. Unfortunately, there's going to be another name added. Firefighter Ryan Osler, 18-year veteran of Ventura County Fire Department, died a couple of days ago when his water tanker overturned at the Canyon Fire. I'd like to ask you all now, as we close, to join me in standing for a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you all. We're adjourned.